So should I turn these passes in now? Like, I don't know. Do I still need this? Do I still need a badge in? No.
Oh, you need the app.
Oh, you got to get the app. Oh man, guess we got to send an email to Olga.
Yeah. Are we talking about World Superbike already?
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how they do the app to get on and
Yeah.
get into the track. But then you also have to have a hard card, so it's a little bit redundant.
Yeah, I mean, I guess once you have the hard card, you don't have to whip your phone out. I don't know. Like,
yeah, it's some kind of a transitional thing, right? You have the phone app or you have the hard card.
yeah.
But they scan it at the entry. But anyway, so what are we doing? What
Yeah,
are we
we're talking, dude. You just packed up all your shit and sent it to Europe, man. Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, we did it once before. It was
how did you everything? Like, this is the thing that people were talking about. Like, the teams that are already there, they're like, wait a minute, you fit everything in two little what?
Well, they weren't that little. It was 1,600 kilograms of stuff. So what is that? 3,500 pounds or so? I don't know. 1,600 kilograms. I get the calculator out. I think Mark does better math.
We're mathing now.
Yeah. So what is 1,600 times 2.2, which I can't do off the top of my head? Yeah, 3,520. I missed it by. Yeah, so it's 3,500 pounds of stuff. I mean, the truck definitely drove back from New Jersey a little bit lighter, a little bit faster.
Oh yeah, save fuel.
Yeah, but I mean, we packed it pretty tight.
Yeah,
we packed it pretty tight. So it was. You know what though? It was pretty seamless this go around. The last go around, we had a lot of issues with Delta Cargo and having all the proper documentation. But this go around, I mean, the guys down here in LA, Sergio at Schaefer Transportation, they set it all up, and then Miguel on the other side at I can't say what VOAM, I think. Logistics took care of all of it on the Europe side. It was
and his son Victor.
What's that?
Victor.
Yeah, his son Victor. Yeah, nice looking girlfriend of his.
And his hot chick girlfriend.
Yeah, right for him.
You're like high five.
Yeah, exactly. I told Miguel, I go, he's a lot. I said, your son's a lot better looking than you are. So I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's a good dude, and he rides also, so he understands everything. It was funny because he was trying to give us tips on Estoril. He goes, Estoril. He goes, it's all about how you charge the corners and how deep you can go in the corners and blah blah blah. And it turned out like he was pretty spot on with some of the advice he was giving. Same advice that Massimo and a lot of the guys on the Paddock team were given too.
I walking into Estoril, I mean, the place, you could tell that it'd been there for ever.
It's 1970 something.
Really? Yeah. Like it's kind of a little rusty, but then going out on the track walk with Bob, like the track surface is money.
They take. Yeah, I don't know what it is with the pavement they do over there.
Yeah.
Like, they run cars and they run bikes, they run all kinds of stuff, but our tracks, they run a couple cars over it and it turns to crap in no time.
Right.
Our cars that much faster, or is it because our surfaces are paved that much worse?
I don't know.
What I'm saying? Like, even like Laguna Seca, how many times they paved that thing?
Yeah.
A few IndyCar rounds is as bumpy and cracked and potholed as you can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they resurfaced it like a year ago. I mean, I don't know when they resurfaced Estoril, but it could have been. I don't think it was less than 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, like it was a couple of years ago, and then like a year later, it was it had gone to shit.
Yeah, the place could definitely use a coat of paint though, right?
Yeah, I mean both the World Superbike tracks, I noticed during the track walks, they had staff out there repainting all the curvings.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm talking about the exterior. When you pull in. So just to give a visual, when you pull in, I mean, it looks like an old Soviet style complex.
Yeah.
Bare concrete, right?
Oh, yeah.
And dirt parking lot, that type of thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
We parked in P1 or P2, which was indistinguishable. And, and then the paddock area is kind of small, right?
Yeah, I thought I was shocked to see how small it was. And truthfully, like the fan turnout at Estoril, I would say it took all weekend to get there, I think, but I would say based on what I saw, it looked kind of mid-Ohio-ish crowd size
Yeah,
wise
yeah, that's probably
ish,
about accurate. Yeah,
right?
I don't think it's any more fan turnout than we get. I was,
No.
ran into a few guys I worked with in the past, like Chaz Davies. Obviously, he was a rider, very established rider, and finished second in the world championship one or two times. I can't remember. He was the guy that was racing against Johnny Ray when he was the top of the game, right? He was the
Right.
Ducati guy,
Right.
and now he's a rider coach. And we talked a little bit about the fan turnout and stuff. Same with Sander Donker, who's been around on the technical side. He worked
Yeah.
for American Honda here, yeah, and then
I remember he worked with Jeff Tigert.
he's worked with a lot of different
Yeah.
teams, but now he's a pretty much a regular. He works with the Bimota team. He was with Kawasaki before that, and then he worked with just a bunch of guys. He worked in MotoGP with Aprilia, so I think it was Aprilia. Pretty sure it was Aprilia. Yeah. Anyway, so and he worked with BMW also, so the guy gets around for sure. He's a bit of a technical gypsy, and he was commenting also on the crowd size, and I think that's just the way things go these days because you have such good access on the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the whole race on the internet. You go to track, you're going to watch a couple corners or something like that. Then you think about Europe. I mean, God, they have a 22% or 21% sales tax.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anything you buy wasn't cheap, right?
Dude,
it wasn't exactly.
We had to get some euros. We had to get some euros to do laundry, right?
Yeah.
And like whatever fees are, whatever fees are on pulling the money out, that's one thing. But dude, like I think between the three of us, I think it was like $35, €35 to do laundry.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, like when we went to the grocery store and things like that, it was really not inexpensive. I wouldn't say it was. I would say it's every bit as expensive as most expensive city in the U.S. That's the way I saw it. Like it was.
I mean, there were some places that were quite a bit less expensive. Just kind of, you get a little chocolate and churro in the morning for like €3.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of things where it's like you could buy a bunch of shit and it's like €10. Drinks, right? Drinks at the pub were pretty healthy pours and low prices, like perfect for our.
There's some things that are like that. But, it seemed like the normal goods. Like you go to the auto parts store and you buy something, and it seemed like it was pretty pricey. I think they're taxed pretty high, and their income tax is pretty high too. So anyway, my point is that with that much overhead on the expense side, and I don't know what their average income is. I don't think it's super duper high. I think it's fairly expensive to take a family out to a race and spend entries and if you're going to stay there for more than one day, you're going to be spending for a hotel and things like that. But Lisbon is so close, and a lot of the places are so close that I'm sure a lot of people just come in for Sunday and leave, maybe Saturday.
We were kind of talking about that, just with some of the lads, right? The lads on the Paddock team, and it seems like maybe some of the fans are making choices with their dollar. I mean, there's MotoGP events at those same tracks too, and a lot of the fans are making that choice. They have money to do both. And I mean, Spain, it's like, dude, the GP it's like World Series comes to town, kind of, right?
Yeah.
So. But I mean, Jerez, the crowd size there was probably rivaled Road America. I think, like it was, dude, it was
close. Yeah, close.
We passed out like 4,000 stickers in 10 minutes and ran out and stood there like, holy shit, there's still all these fans.
yeah, they kept coming on during the pit walk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, no, I'd say that's true because whenever we'd leave Yamaha's hospitality, there was just you had to kind of wade through a bunch of people.
Yeah,
but that paddock is again pretty small.
Dude, it's actually the what we went to was pretty small, but man, walking around the place was humongous. Like there was people freaking everywhere there. and on the other side and on the stands and up on the hillsides. Like, there was freaking people everywhere at Jerez.
Well, that makes more sense. So I think the Portuguese side is a little bit low, and Jerez being the last round too, right? There was probably a lot of people there. I mean, I didn't. My perspective was the garage in the morning when it was still 0 dark 30. Walk out to get lunch at the hospitality and walk back to the garage. You then leave at dark 30 and go back to the hotel.
You know what? You talked about hospitality, right? Like, we got to talk about Yamaha hospitality. Like, you got really friendly with the, what do they call those things? It sounds like they're saying avocado, but it's basically like some kind of cappuccino dumped into ice cream, like soft serve.
Oh, I don't know. You got, somebody got me that. I think it was you.
I did. I got you that.
I don't know what they call it. That was the first.
It sounds like they're saying avocado, but it's not that. It's something else. But
it's basically like a scoop of ice cream with espresso shot on top.
Yeah,
of it. It's pretty good. It's definitely a wake up call.
Yeah, you can thank the Paddock, the lads again for that, because they're like, oh man, you got to have one of these. I was like, dude, I don't drink coffee.
Is I mean, that's one thing that's different over there than our deal. Other than the riders are super fast, is their hospitality. I mean, they all go all out, right? They all have either at least one hospitality truck. Most of them have 2 hospitality trucks.
Right.
They tie them together, and in between part is kind of like
somebody commented with the name Afogado. Yeah. Like I said, it sounded like avocado.
We're so American. We know nothing.
Like us walking around Leroy Merlin, like, we need this.
The translator. That's another thing too. Like in Portugal, like nobody speaks English
or Spanish either.
Or in Spain. The part of Spain that we were in, right?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, you had to either be in the hospitality section or, forget it. Like a hardware store, you're not going to get any.
Okay, well, how about Crewman 37 trying to convince some welder guy down the street, like, to weld up some shit for us?
Yeah.
Nobody there spoke a lick of English. I'm like using the Google Translate, like, I type it out,
Yeah. That part is, thank God for Google Translate, right?
Oh man. And and I could speak, level 1 Rosetta Stone level of Spanish, dude, and food truck Spanish. Well, neither of which really do me a justice in Spain.
We had our own Google translator though. It was called Fernando.
Yes.
It's like, hey Fernando, talk to this guy. Hey Fernando, talk to that guy.
You know what? I was actually pretty proud of myself. I was able to communicate with our little hotel guy in Spain well enough to figure out who he is, what he does. It's him and his wife running the thing. They're kind of running this little business. And he was like, oh, yeah, you could buy one of those places, a 2-bedroom for like 80 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's open in that little town.
Yeah, this is a little village, man. I don't know what they do with that economy over there. That's the part I was kind of. It looks like a farm area, a little village inside a farm area. It's like something you see in Central America. I mean, Central California.
Right.
Drive up this, right down the valley there.
It's like driving through Middletown on the way to Calistoga.
Yeah, Modesto or one of those.
Calistoga even, right? It's like a tiny little town.
Yeah, so where we stayed was just north of the racetrack versus going down in town, because we booked so late that it was a little bit impossible to get something decent. But that was pretty cool, little hotel, right? It was super clean. Yeah. The guy took care of us.
The little dude and his little conveyor belt oven for the toast.
Yeah, I mean, Spanish breakfast, man, is toast and some leche con cafe con
leche.
Yeah,
and agua con gas. Agua con gas.
Agua con gas. Yeah, that's about it. Sparkling water.
Yeah, it was a good time, man. Like, but back to Estoril, walking through that tunnel. I mean, just a scene of all the murals and, I don't know, like.
Oh, it was definitely cool. It was definitely cool to be there. Just the structure is super old.
Right.
I couldn't even. It wasn't like Brainerd, but it was something just above Brainerd.
I would say more like Daytona, facility level wise.
No. Daytona's had some upgrades. I think Daytona
No, I'm
looks
saying
pretty.
the old garages.
Mm,
Mm,
I don't know. Different.
yeah, yeah, not quite Brainerd, Mid Ohio.
Mid Ohio-ish.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like
yeah,
Mid Ohio before they redid the bathrooms. Something
yeah.
like that. But Mid Ohio doesn't
Uh,
have garages. There's like wooden
you know
shack.
what? Jerez was quite a bit nicer, but they didn't have a bathroom in the garage.
Yeah, that was weird. But they
Estoril
did
did.
have one upstairs. You had to key in.
Right.
Basically had to go by the security to get to, which
Yep.
was the one for the in the admin area.
Yep.
For sure, the garages were, and we had our own garage there, which was nice because at Estoril we were sharing half a garage with the Paddock team, and it was cool that we were so close to those guys because
Yeah.
Massimo was pretty helpful with keeping us in under the fuel usage regs.
Right. I was wondering about that. How did Massimo end up kind of being a de facto on our team that weekend at Estoril?
Agatar was injured, right?
Oh, okay.
He's his so they
Yeah.
so the way it appears
That's how we got David on the grid.
yeah, so Massimo's on loan to a lot of people.
Okay.
Like he does the Italian Championship, I think, but on Dunlop tires, and then he does World Superbike, and he helps out in World Endurance. I mean, the guy's like all over the place, and he's Massimo Neri. That's his last name.
Yeah.
His main job is electronics development for Yamaha Europe.
Okay.
So they're mainly everything but MotoGP.
Dude, that guy is he's like you and Marshall, but with a really fun accent.
Yeah, I mean he's a really good dude, and
Yeah.
anyway, so he was super helpful in the mapping side, let's say.
Right.
But it was our chassis geometry compared to theirs was so different. So it was something very new to him, and I think that at Estoril we had maybe one of those situations where too many cooks spoil the pot.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Where you had Massimo in there, then you had Marshall and me, and and then we're trying to figure out how to make the rider go faster.
Right.
When a lot of it was the rider just getting more used to the track,
right,
and understanding how hard to push those tires. That was the main thing, was understanding how hard to push the tires. I mean, I think he was just blown away with how hard he could push the front. And
do you want to talk about that? Like, I mean, Bob mentioned the grip difference in the Pirelli quite a bit.
Yes, the rear and the front are quite a bit different in the way the Dunlop behaves.
Okay.
So you can look. I would show you some of the data overlays, but it's not my data to show. So just back up a bit. The cooperation on the World Superbike side is pretty damn phenomenal. Like they will come over and give you Johnny Ray's data, Locatelli's data.
Yeah.
There's 4 Superbikes that they take care of. I guess the Moto X team, they're not so involved with, so we didn't get that data. But we get, the was the GRT team and also the Paddock team. So we get their data, and they would take our data, and then Massimo would come back and say, "Look, you're missing all your time in these particular segments." So Bob wasn't weak everywhere. Bobby wasn't weak everywhere. He was weak in just a few spots, and that was all about using the front tire harder.
Right.
So I think what happened is he just came off of a kind of a crappy Sunday, right?
Right.
A week before, basically, where he crashed the bike and lost the championship. Crashed it twice. So I think he was maybe a little bit, I wouldn't say mind zapped, but he was a little bit apprehensive to pull the brake lever as hard as you need on a Pirelli to get into the apex. And where he was missing, and you can do the overlay. I mean, acceleration to Locatelli was spot on. Straightaway speed, like accelerating all the way down up to top speed, was spot on. We have a little bit different engine config, so we're missing maybe 1 or 2K at the very, very top, especially when they started trimming back. So there's some little things that we did with the fuel to make sure it's under regulation. So they have a fuel flow level that you can't go above.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're always monitoring how much fuel you use, and so we just went through the motions. Probably wouldn't have made much difference if we shot over it here and there. If they DQ'd us, who cares? We kind of used the 2 races as a postseason test, and we learned a lot. We didn't want to be in anybody's way, so that was one of the goals. Is like we're not going to go out and try to light the world on fire, crash a bunch of stuff, and get people's way, and maybe crash into someone and ruin their chances of getting points.
The crazy thing is over there, on the grid, right? We were both weekends. We were back 40 of the grid.
Yeah.
But the reality is we were gridded next to world champion endurance people and like legit hitters, but like everybody's a hitter in that class. There's like 20 of them.
It was a Japanese kid that was riding the prototype Honda.
I can't remember how
Tommy, Nakashima.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah, that guy won a Moto2 race.
Yeah, like they're hitters back there, man, and
the whole field there's no slouches. I mean, it's like a
20 Bobiers.
Yeah, it's tenth between each of those guys, and he knocks you back all the way down to 20th or 21st or 22nd.
Right. And the guys I'm talking about are like from third place back because Toprak and Bulaga were so gone. Like,
yeah, they're on a different level, and it's going to be kind of boring without Toprak next year, I think, unless somebody else steps up. I don't know if Petrucci can do the same job as Toprak.
Yeah, I talked a little bit about it on the show last night, but man, Toprak was just such a friendly, welcoming dude. Like,
are we going to talk about tires, or are we going to talk about Toprak?
We talk about what? Tires or
Toprak? Tires or talk about Toprak? Which one?
Whatever. Like, it's all the same. It's all
tires.
It's a tangent. Like, it's like, I don't know. Like I'm like there's like branches of shit coming off. So like you gotta like if we're gonna focus on tires, we'll focus on the tires. We should.
Yeah. So let's finish.
They're quite a bit different.
Yeah. So let's start with the rear. We learned real quick that Bobby's stab of the throttle, which it was okay, but you could see in some of the video he just lighten it up and smoking the thing.
Right.
Pirelli does not spin like the Dunlop. The Dunlop, you can get it spinning like violently and accelerate. The Pirelli, if you get it spinning violently, it comes at a stop.
Right.
It's like a dragster doing a burnout. So that was one of the things that we learned, and then we had to change the chassis to make sure that when it did spin, let's say it had a little bit more grip, and to compensate for the carcass flex. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and it was not amazing, but we had their settings before we left,
right? And
we were debating: should we put their settings in? Should we just show up with what we know? Like, it's gonna be kind of a shocker. And Bobby's pretty sensitive when it comes to changes on the bike, like even little stuff. Like, you know what? Maybe it'll be better if we just show up with our bike with the settings that we know, and let him just ride around with tires. That way he has to learn the track and start optimizing the tires, and we'll work into it. And we knew that basically Estoril was going to be a throwaway. Just learn the rubber. And we didn't, all we got was a little bit of time here in the U.S. on the Pirellis with our chassis. And it seemed fine because we weren't racing with anybody, right?
Right.
So you go, oh, hey, this thing's a second faster than the Dunlop. Amazing. Okay, we're great. We're going to rock, And then you show up and like, oh, we're 2 seconds off the pace. Nice. Anyway, so we kept working on it and kept trying to get him to stop smashing the throttle open at the apex. And it was really, really difficult. That's the only way he knows how to turn the bike. It was really strange. Not really strange, but we knew that anyway because he does that in Motor America also. That's kind of his thing. Yeah. And Chaz Davies at the after Estoril, after Jerez, everyone goes to this bar, right? Season end thing, and everyone was there. So I was chatting with him a little bit over there, and he said that when he raced here in the AMA and Bobby was coming up, he just remembers Bobby being so aggressive on the exits of corners, because he raced with him in Supersport. Right. And he said if that guy ever figures out how to get in the corners, he's going to be somebody to deal with, And he was right. I mean, it was the difficult part wasn't getting him off the corner; it was getting him into the corner. And they're just on a different level with the use of that tire. Their bikes are so optimized for that Pirelli front. So the rear wasn't as big a deal. Once we got the shock damping right, it was like, okay, we had really good acceleration. And even though he was still stabbing the throttle open pretty violently, we could tone the power down in that area to get the thing to accelerate a little bit smoother. So we tried some of their TC settings too, and it didn't quite work for Bobby because, again, he's fairly aggressive with the throttle opening because the Dunlop can take it. And it was hard to get someone off of that when they're doing stuff, second nature, let's say.
Right.
In a corner, you open the throttle a certain way, you get the bike to turn with the rear tire, and the thing just sits there. and does a nice smoking burnout. Yeah, and but if you do the overlay, which I can't show you, unfortunately, is you look at any of the other guys, the 4 guys, Johnny Ray, Locatelli, what's his name, the Australian kid.
Gardner.
Remy. Yeah. So all their throttle pickups are completely linear. I mean, it's just those guys just.
Bob's is like vertical.
Yeah, Bob's goes vertical, flat to control the spin, and then accelerates. Every single one of them. He just goes big stab, get things spinning, control the spin, and then accelerate once you get grip.
Right.
Stand it up and accelerate, which isn't the best way on the Pirelli, we found out. So he got better and better at it as we got to the faster sweepers at Jerez, but it was something that he had to get his head around. But even with that, the place where he missed all of his lap time was on the last third of the corner entry on the Pirelli front. And so it's just being able to maintain that brake pressure all the way to the apex. It was just
Can you talk about the difference in the brake pressure even? Like, I mean, you know what Bob's, bar of brake pressure he's using on from like high speed back down to first gear at home.
Yeah, it depends on the corner. So he got his head more around stabbing the thing initially like they do. They apply quite a bit of pressure, but they don't release as much as you would think. They hold a lot longer to the apex. Like they start off high, and some corners they build. So they might start off with enough brake pressure to keep the rear tire down, because the Yamaha bike, the Paddock bike, is quite a bit shorter than ours, so it tends to do more of a stoppie and more wheelies than our bike do. And they like it that way, so they can load the tires different than we do.
Right.
Now our bike's long compared to theirs, so we kind of optimize acceleration and stopping power in a different way. But so they control how the thing does a stoppie, let's say, based on how much brake pressure, and then as they get the rear tire comes down, they build, and one of the strongest things they do is use the rear brake right at the last little bit to get to the apex. So right when the tire sets, they start applying rear brake pressure, which we kept trying to encourage Bobby to do, but it's something not in his wheelhouse.
They had some footage that was going around of, I want to say, Top Rack at Estoril, and you could see him go to the brakes, and you could see him tip in, and then you could see his foot transition as he's trailing off the brakes. He transitions to rear.
Yeah,
and I'm like, how the fuck do you do that with your foot?
Well, he's a thumb. I think he uses a thumb on the Ducati, and the Yamahas use a finger. So and we have a finger brake too, which I'm not a big fan of the foot pedal, because it's a lot harder for the riders to get in a position for right-handers.
Right.
And it's even harder for them to get in a position for the left-handers. But for the right-handers, for sure, they got to wait. And you're trying to, and where they use the brake is different than what people think. They use the brake just that last little bit at the apex.
Right.
As soon as the rear tire touches down and starts to load again, they transition from releasing the front brake to applying the rear brake. So they kind of do a throttle chop, brake, and then as they release the front brake, they go to the rear brake, and they start to apply throttle, and then release the rear brake.
Yeah.
So it's all up here, and it's hard to do that with a feeling on a foot. Now Top Rack's probably a special case, because he's been doing it for so long.
Right.
He could probably, but all the data I've ever seen with guys using the rear brakes, they just mash it. It goes straight to 40 bar, 60 bar, and then it's off like a big on-off switch, and that's not the fast way around. These guys, you'll see, they build a dome with a rear brake and back down with the pressure. They build and then right when the rear tire has the most amount of grip, and then they release as they get to the apex and want to accelerate again. So it's kind of and Bob's really good with the off brake and on gas. He's as good as Cameron Bobier, because we have both their datas, right? So no coasting in between. I mean, he has perfect locking between brake to gas. He's just missing that little bit on the rear brake, which we're going to work on this winter. I think we can take advantage of that and get him a little faster at the apex. And it also, what it does, it helps you with taking some of the pressure off the front tire. It's free grip back there. Once that rear tire sets down, you're still going in on the front, and you still got some free grip back there that we can use to slow the bike down and hook the corner. Yeah.
Well, we did see, Fernando showed us there was a rear rotor that had some marks on it that didn't have before.
We're all like high-fiving.
Like, oh shit, Bob's using the rear brake now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So early on, we took the foot pedal off our bike because Jake would always ride the thing on the straightaways, killing some top speed. It was second nature for him to do that because of motocross stuff. It's kind of like wheelie control / traction control. Maybe the teams he was on before didn't have didn't have a very good electronics or a very good electronics guy, so they couldn't really control the wheelie control and all that. So it was really hard to get Jake to get his foot off the thing. He wouldn't even know he was doing it. And so to maximize our speed, we said, you know what, we're going to go to 100% finger brake and leave it at that. And the guys are going to have to learn how to use it. So it's really hard to get some of these guys who have been riding for the last decade or 2 decades, since they were kids, to get off the foot and get on the finger. It's really strange how hard it is.
I mean, look,
the MotoGP guys, they work everything. They work the squat device, they work the rear brake, they work the foot, they work the clutch, they work, all those buttons, but it's those guys are starting off in Moto 2 with working a finger or a thumb brake. Everybody in Moto 2's got one. Like I don't think you can race that class without it.
Right. So the guys here that never touched rear brake.
Well, I mean that's only going to
unless I'm too up.
Yeah, that's only going to get you so far.
Right.
And we've talked about that for a couple of years now, not before Bobby got on, with Jake and things like that, and they get into the rhythm, and they're like, screw it, they just don't think about it. So I think it's going to take quite a bit of off-season testing to keep working on that. I think that's going to bring the level up a little bit more.
Yeah,
that last little bit, and it was really clear in World Superbike what maybe Moto America guys are missing, and maybe it's the way we've developed the riders based on the tires we have. And what happens is it's like chicken or egg thing, right? So in World Superbike, you get guys like Top Rack braking a certain way, and then the tire development, the chassis go a certain way to match, and then everybody else starts building their process. Like remember when Johnny Ray became the stoppy guy too,
right?
And so the riders start morphing towards whoever's fast as far as the riding style goes, and then the tires keep developing that direction. Right. So chicken or the egg, right? Where in Moto America, where guys here have never really been strong brakers or strong front tire users or whatever. It's like the old adage, like corn dogs talk about all the time: in slow, out fast. Well, that only lasts so long. Okay, that shit's behind us now. So all these guys are going to have to get in faster and out faster. So I'm hoping that the new tires that Dunlop brings next year will be a lot more like the Pirelli front, so we can use it. I mean, the rear I think is okay. Dunlop rear is okay. I think where they need to do their work's on the front. The front was definitely lacking this year by a considerable amount. I mean, you could see it when you use both tires with the same bike with the same rider.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, the tires that you guys have had the last couple of years it didn't seem as good as the tires you guys had when Jake was smashing everybody. And
the 129s and all that. Yeah, it was strange. Like during winter testing, I remember, they brought in some tires and they were all like, wow, these tires are really, really good. Both Jake and Cam Peterson rode them, and they're like, holy crap, these tires are going to smash a bunch of records. And then when we went to actually racing on them, it seemed like a different thing. I think they put the old compounds on the new carcasses, and it didn't quite do with that, what they were calling the R4 or whatever they're calling that now.
Right.
So I'm really anxious to see what they come up with for next year. Because apparently the French tires are actually pretty decent.
Really?
Yeah, the French Dunlop, Massimo was telling us was quite good. The front tire wasn't so far off. It is still a little bit of a different braking game than the Pirelli, and so it'd be interesting to see how, if they get something like the French tire. I know they're supposed to get some Japanese tires, and so I know they're pretty good in the JSB series. So I don't hear any big quacking about those things, Yeah, but it'll be interesting. The hard part is, when do we get them?
Yeah.
Do we get them race one? Everyone's scrambling to figure it out. Do we get them a month before race one, or a week before race one, and what do we test during the winter, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's the hard part there, because they're transitioning away from any U.S. What I hear is they don't have enough tires in the U.S. inventory to do the series next year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they shut down that Buffalo plant, right? And we've talked about that before. And
Right.
so if they don't have any tires from the U.S. inventory, they have to get a foreign tire. So how are they gonna support the series? It's a question mark for me anyway. I'm sure they have a plan. They're a good company, and I'm sure they have a plan. But right now, it's what is that plan? We don't know.
Does that tire difference also? It seems like, the riders over there, they're used to riding those Pirellis. They're used to riding with the grip of the Pirellis. That kind of accounts for the top guys when they came over here. They had a hard time too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They could not use the tools they knew.
Right.
It's kind of like Bobby couldn't use the front tire to its full extent. I mean, think about it, those chassis are all optimized for those tires, and the tires are optimized for the chassis for the rider. Right. So they all morph into something, and then you just plop in the middle of that. And you can see how well those bikes are getting optimized, because the gap in times are getting closer and closer and closer.
Right.
So you can't just take something ready from Motor America and plop them in there and go, here you go, figure it out.
Yeah.
Chassis, crew, everything. But
right.
By the time we got to Jerez, he was within a half second or so. His lap times, like consistently, like if you look at the broad, they could go out and do, like in the beginning of the race, a really fast lap and get they would go out and do let's say a 39, low 39.
Yeah.
The race. But then by the time Bob got going, they were pretty comparable. Like, let's say 10th, 12th place was pretty comparable with the lap times that Bob was doing. It was like, high 40s, low 41s, let's say.
Right.
And they would all dip into the mid, low 41s, high 40s.
Right.
So he was just missing a 10th here and there. And if he had that 10th, he could have got behind, around Rinaldi faster, and a couple other guys. Like was Nakashima right? I don't think he raced at Jerez. I think he was just at Estoril.
Yeah, I think he was just at Estoril. There was the Petronas Honda guy that I think we beat him in all the races.
Yeah. Can't remember his Spanish name.
But he was like I think he was like a Suzuka guy too.
Yeah. Nakashima did Suzuka also. I think he won twice with the team he rode on.
Yeah.
The Honda team.
And we ended up beating Rinaldi, right?
Yeah, no, we got Rinaldi both races, or Super Bowl races, or whatever it was. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Honestly, we were there just to have a good time. And
I was like, dude, we beat a guy.
Yeah, we were actually racing someone.
Yeah. We had a scrap.
But it was a great learning experience for Bobby and us to see the difference between 22 and now.
Yeah.
Like the level has changed.
It's gone up.
The tires have changed to match that level. Like Pirelli really stepped it up on that front tire.
Yeah.
And it was also, there was two compounds that we kind of dealt with, right? So it was a development front, which they call the E0672, and then there was the ST1.
Yeah.
And then there was an ST2, which hardly anybody used. I think Johnny Ray used it in a crash on or something like that. It had a feel that he liked. It was a stiffer carcass, but it didn't offer the grip. And but we tried to focus on that 0672, and then when we went to Estoril or Jerez, we're like, you know what? Let's try the SC1. And Bobby's like, that tire's way better. So it gave him something that he felt was better, and it was like what was his name? Pietro, our
Pietro Pirelli.
Yeah, I mean, we had a really good Pirelli guy too, and he was pretty switched on.
Yeah.
And anyway, so he said the difference isn't that big. It's a matter of preference. But for Bobby, like I said, small things matter for him. And he's like, oh, that's way better. And then it's like we should have stayed with that tire at Estoril.
Yeah.
But Pietro recommended we just stick with one tire. He thought the development tire was better, and that we just stick with that the whole weekend, and just get our chassis sorted, get Bobby sorted, and all that stuff. So it was definitely a good learning game. We learned a lot, and the cooperation with I mean, how was the paddock as far as welcoming?
I mean, look, I joked about it last night, right? I was the guy that could get things, right?
Yeah.
Go get the ladder. Go get
Yeah.
this. And like they're all go get some brake lever guards. Like
Yeah,
right?
we call that a gopher.
Right. The no job too big or small, right?
Yeah.
For Crewman 37. And you know, all the teams were like, "Oh, you need that? Sure. No problem." Can't even speak a lick of English, but they're like, "Yeah, dude." You know?
Well, the GMT team. So when we got there, you know, we had a list of asks for the Paddock team. Like we need, we're not going to ship a pit generator, a 220-volt pit generator, you know, hot pit and or grid generator, I should call it, grid cart. And so, you know, they're like, yeah, no problem, we'll get you one. And the GMT guys like, here, use our grid cart, and like, yeah, you can use our, you know, our hot pit monitors and all that stuff. Yes, they were definitely super, because we're no threat. If we're out there winning, they'd be like, get out of here.
Yeah. They're like, here's all the data. We're not worried about you guys. Like, go ahead and have everything.
Yeah. So I mean, Chaz was being pretty nice. He's like, man, it takes some balls to show up to World Superbike race at the end of the season and just dive in with both feet. He goes, everyone's pretty much switched on by the time you get the last race, you know?
Oh man,
they're going as good as they're going to go.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was fun. You know, we learned a lot, and I mean, I'd go do it again. Yeah, I wouldn't want to finish in 20th or 19th or 17th or whatever, but I think if we stayed there for another couple rounds, you know, and Bobby got his head around how to use that front tire, I think he would have probably by then crashed a couple of bikes, you know, and go, okay, here's the limit. And then he would have been in that window where he could have been competitive.
Well, you maybe send another crate next time.
Yeah, more stuff. Another 3,500 pounds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we brought so much bodywork with us. I mean, the one crate was the bike, and it had stuff all around it.
Oh man,
side panels, uppers, winglets. I mean, we didn't scratch a single panel.
You're like flatten the walls more, so we could close the lid.
Yeah, it was like one of those, you know, things like, you know, the woman sitting on the suitcase trying to get her bag packed. That was our crates.
I was bummed I didn't film Robbie jumping up and down on top of the crate.
Oh, well, did he do that?
He did that at Jerez when we were packing it into the truck.
Oh yeah.
No, not Jerez. Jerez. Yeah, we did that at Jerez.
Yeah.
Super funny. Like you're like, close that thing.
The whole
you
thing.
had to put pressure on it, so he just jumped up there and was like jumping up and down.
Yeah. I mean, even borrowing the hospitality, the forklift that wasn't quite long enough for the crates, and the things are teetering. We're all like sitting on one side of the crate.
Dude.
You're off the forklift.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of OSHA violations.
We all got our hands under the crate trying to get into the truck.
Oh man, so dangerous.
Like, hey, don't put your fingers on that thing while the guy's driving it.
Oh man, so crazy. Yeah, there's some chats in here about like the difference in the way the bikes look. You know, I talked about it a little bit on the show last night, right? And I was like, just being a fan and looking at the bikes from the side, and maybe part of it's because of our lift tube, but it sure looked like their bikes were short and stumpy compared to ours.
Yeah, their bikes are, I think, a lot closer to OEM than our bikes.
Yeah.
You know, I think they run ride heights and lengths. Their swing arm is longer than OEM for sure, because that's just what things like. But they're not as long as ours, and they're not as stretched out as ours. Like I said, I think that the way they load the front tire is different, so their bike is morphed into whatever that front tire likes. I was talking to Christian, one of the tech guys at Paddock team, and about, are you guys worried about when the Michelins arrive? And he's like, yes, very worried.
Yeah,
you know, like, it's going to be a lot of work to do. And some of the Pirellis, I keep wanting to say Dunlops, some of the Pirellis that they had, like was there 126 or 162 rear? 126, I think.
Yeah.
The 126 rear, which is I think a derivation of the SCX.
The X. Yeah.
Yeah. That thing was firmer, sturdier. You know, like I said, it spun and smoked a lot, but it was. I think that's their first attempt, by what I heard, towards what they're going to do with the MotoGP bikes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because at least that's what the Olin's boss told me. It didn't come from the Pirelli guy; it came from Olin's boss. So they're already, yeah. So they're he went to a test where they tested the Pirellis on the MotoGP bikes, and like a preliminary thing, and got the feedback from those things. It'll be quite interesting, when they go to Michelin's and who rocks on them and who doesn't, and how much work the teams have to do to get their bikes to get around it.
Well, you know what? That's one of two things I talked to people about. That was kind of chatter in the paddock, but then also the other thing was a lot of the teams felt that they're not really a true world Superbike series anymore. They feel like, with the exception of Phillip Island, they're the European Superbike series, and they all are wanting and pining over coming back to the United States. And I guess the plan is 27, maybe.
I don't know. I told Olga they need to come, and what's his name? Her right hand guy. I'm terrible with names, but it seemed like the FIM people were like, "Oh, we want to come back to Laguna Seca. Such good memories for us." Yeah. But everybody wanted to come back. The rider teams, that kind of thing.
What was that guy that was in our pit at Jerez at the end of the weekend? And he was like, "I love coming to your pit. It reminds me of being at Laguna Seca."
Yeah, just one of the FIM guys. I can't remember who it was. One of the stewards there.
Right.
Yeah, they were all. And then we were at that bar in Jerez afterwards too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we want to come back to the United States. We want to come back to the United States and race there.
Right.
So I got a lot of that. Maybe because we're Americans. Maybe the other guys. Like, screw you. I never want to go there.
Maybe they're just saying that to be nice. Right?
Yeah, probably so.
But most people said Laguna or Road America, but I did get a couple of indies.
Yeah, I think Road America would be really good. I just don't know if they can. I don't know if Road America, that kink and stopping at Canada Corner and all that. Like, I don't know how much runoff.
What they told me wasn't even anything about the track. It was the lack of garages.
Yeah, that's a problem. But they can do tent buildings for that. They can put up pretty quick. You can get rental stuff. Remember COVID and all the outdoor restaurants?
Yeah.
All the tent buildings we had. They go up and down every day. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, the AC system inside the building was no good, so therefore we had to sit in a plastic tent, and that was going to be safer. Yeah.
I felt so much safer eating my chicken parm outside than sandwich.
Yeah, in a tent next to somebody, in a closed tent with no ventilation.
Right.
How stupid was that?
That wasn't the stupidest.
No, there was a lot of stupid going on back then. There was a lot of panic. Yeah.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah. So, basically, like going back to the bikes, they look that way because they're optimized for the grip of the tires and they're capable of doing that. What did you think of having I
must mention, though, it could be the fact that our riders used our motorcycle, but at the end at Jerez on Sunday, we made a decent step, right? About a half cycle lap. And that was our geometry with air damping. So we did the full circle, not the full circle, but we went one direction. And then, we started Jerez with their geometry, their damping. And then we morphed over to our geometry, their damping. And the damping seemed to give the feel that Bobby was looking for, or maybe the feel the tires need. Yeah. And the type of just control the tires need. Yeah. Spring rates, damping, everything was very, very similar what those guys were using. Even the same type shock, the RVP 50. And so that was a step. Bobby learning the tires was another step. Going to another racetrack, which is flowing, was a step. So everything was, even though the position didn't change, his gap to the leader was getting closer, right? And definitely the gap to the middle of the pack was getting closer. So we were happy about that at the end. No rider wants to come back and say, "Oh yeah, I finished 17th or 18th or 20th or something." But it's a different ball game, and that ball game, you got to look at the improvements you keep making, and he kept making improvements. I mean, to do low 40s, 40 flat, or what? Did he do a 39? I can't remember if he did a 39.
He was like knocking on 39 door. It was like, it was like 40 flat. Yeah.
That's a respectable lap time.
Yeah, dude.
Just as a kind of a benchmark, those lap times would have got him pretty competitive the previous year.
Yeah.
That's how much faster these guys are going year to year to year.
Yeah.
And so
they live there and test there, like, like I was saying, the guys are kind of sick about it. They're like, Remy was like, dude, I'm kind of sick of this place, honestly. He's like, we go here like 5 or 6 times a year, and he's like, I'm over it, man. Everybody's so fast here because we all test here.
Are they as the track as I am of you?
Maybe.
Every time you come around, I start itching my arm.
Stop.
I'm getting these little.
Yeah, I don't know. I hang out with you and I start getting a cough. Like,
you come around, I get the neck twitch. Marshall had this big lump growing every time you come around.
What's going on with I'm actually worried about the guy because, like, he had kind of a different attitude during the trip, and I wonder if it was like I'm a shithead, so like of course we have this fun banter back and forth, and we pick on each other, and it's great, and and I really wanted to go with the New Zealand, like, oh, you must be from Tasmania, show me your scar, mate. You're gonna go get your second head cut off.
Yeah. Well, I think Marshall's been having some, he doesn't want to talk about it. He's not, but he's been having some medical stuff. He's got a thing on his neck. And he sounded like, I talked to him on Friday. He sounded like he got some pretty good news back from his doctor. So,
oh, good.
See how that goes. Yeah. But he was in a shit mood because you are annoying.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
It's because I brought you the affogato thing, and he
wanted some, and he was mad at that.
Yeah, he was mad.
And I'm sure not being super competitive was not exactly his.
Dude, he got so mad.
He got a flu or something then too, and really weird. His neck got even bigger. That lump he had in his neck, has in his neck. It's been growing like all year, just a little. It's been kind of consistent, and Canada style medical takes them a year to get around to doing something.
Oh, dude, yeah. But it's free, so there you go.
What's free? High taxes is free. Don't get me started on that. I'd rather keep my money and buy my medical.
Oh man.
I'll buy my car insurance. I'll buy my food. Let me keep my money.
Right.
I don't want free.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's I talked to some of the riders, like I think it was Dumas. Alex Dumas, and I talked to his dad, and I guess Alex had crashed or something, and like I guess this broke his arm, maybe. I can't remember. Maybe it was a leg. But anyway, he wasn't going to get an X-ray or anything for like a couple months, so he just crossed the border and got it done.
Yeah,
out of pocket.
Yeah, it's kind of the way it is. You go to Shake and Bake in the corner there in New Jersey or something, and New York, you're done.
Yep. Yeah, so that's it's quite a bit different there, like the whole experience was pretty great. And I got to know that little fiery Italian lady in the credentials office at both racetracks. And when she saw me at Jerez, when she saw me walk into the office, because dude, you know how far it was to get there at Estoril. We were rolling, and I roll in, and it's right there.
How many steps did you have that weekend, Estoril?
That particular day was about 8.5 miles worth.
Yeah, that's a lot of walking.
Yeah. So, when we get to Jerez, the credentials place was literally like right by the badge-in spot. So it's like, oh, cool. We go in there. I go in there and I look at this lady, and she was like, "Oh, hey." Hands me the envelope, no discussion, no pushback, nothing. Hands me the envelope and sends me on my way.
Yeah.
She didn't want to get any more translated phone calls from Olga, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they got to know us, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. I think between the transition from Estoril to Jerez was just a much better environment, I think, by the time we got to the next racetrack.
Yeah,
the garage was bigger. We had a little workspace. We were climbing over each other.
Oh, dude!
We had a little workshop behind the wall. We were able to do our suspension. The Olin's truck was right behind our garage, which was awesome. And I can't remember the guy's name. He worked in our paddock for a bit. The Olin's guy.
Yeah. I have it on my video. I just haven't got to look at it yet. But
yeah, he worked with the Yoshimura team for a while. I
Yeah.
never talked to him when he was with the Yosh team. I guess he crossed paths with Marshall, and Marshall was with Yosh. And I chatted with him a little bit about suspension and this and that. And he was, pretty nice guy. And they helped us out with some valving and gassing up our shop. I mean, you go there, we have all the stuff in our truck, right? We can gas the shocks, we can pump the shocks, we can change all the valving. You go there like, did we pack the thingamajigger? Yes, we did, but where did we get the nitrogen?
Right.
You can't exactly send a bottle of nitrogen. I guess you probably could on the flight. It's not oxygen, but then you got to fill out another declaration.
Well, I talked to the guy. I got a tour of the Olin's truck. So I guess we'll show that to the local Olin's guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's how your truck's supposed to look like.
Yeah. Is that before you drove the Paddock truck all the way to Jerez?
Oh yeah.
Can't believe people are believing that.
They were, dude. Like, I'm wearing a different shirt even.
Yeah, I know. You get out and you're wearing a black shirt. I go, you must have changed at the rest area?
Oh, man. Yeah, I changed shirts at the rest area, bro. Like, I spilled coffee on it and stuff.
Yeah. That was the worst acting, too.
It wasn't even acting. It was just like, yeah, dude. Like, I got thrown. Like,
the guy's name of the English dude, the truck driver. His acting was okay.
Oh my God!
We need a guy.
Well, no, it's just he did the same level of acting, but he had an accent, so it automatically made it better.
Yeah. When any English accent's better than our accent.
Oh,
it was funny, Top Rat came by the pit.
Yeah.
And he's looking for Bobby because, I don't know why everybody wanted to help Bobby out. Maybe they felt bad for him. He's like, "Where's Bobby at?" I go, "I think he left." He goes, "Left?" He reminded me of, remember Vincent Haskovic?
Yes.
He had kind of an accent like that. He's like, "Left, man, it's so early." I go, "Well, we're Americans. We go to bed early, get up early. We don't hang out at the track till 10 p.m. That whole thing over there is they do their dinner so late.
Yeah. The restaurants would open at 8 and then start serving maybe at 8:30 or 9.
Oh, you can't get out of there before 10.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to go to bed with a big ass stomach and, just get fatter.
And be at the racetrack at 6?
Yeah, and be at the racetrack at 6 because they have 9 a.m., 9:15, whatever it is, right?
9:15 practice, yeah.
First session on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, so anyway, so he comes by and he's like, "Where's Bobby?" And he had this box of baklava. And he goes, "Oh, I have this for you guys." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, man, thanks." We pop it open. "Oh, baklava, I love baklava." And so we start talking about Turkey a little bit, remember? I started talking about Istanbul and that might have been a different time, but I started talking about Istanbul and Antalya and how much I like the food and all this other stuff. And I go, "Did you ever like street race?" He goes, "No, never street race." He said, "But I did ride on the street a lot. And it was crazy over there. The traffic is so bad. I'll never race on the street. I'll never do a TT."
Yeah.
Then I asked him about when he was going to test the M1. I think November 1st, he said. But anyway, so then he looks at me. He goes, "Where are you from?" I go, "California." He goes, "Your accent is very hard to understand." I go, "My accent's hard to understand." And he looks at you. He's like, "Yours too. Yours is very difficult to understand." Yeah. I go, and then Christian, the Paddock guy, standing there, and I go, "What about his Italian accent?" He goes, "Oh, very easy." Just comes to show you how these guys have morphed. Yeah. They're talking, they're listening. He's been working with an Italian team for so long and they spoke English. And I think his English was very bad when he first got in the series,
Right.
But hanging out with all those Italians for so long, or maybe some of the Spanish, he's able to pick up the accent way easier than our California/American accent.
Well, that was at Jerez. I mean, I saw him at Estoril, and he was saying that he was like, "Hey," he saw me wearing the shirt, walking down hot pit lane or whatever, and he was like, "Hey, man, next session, tell Bobby to follow me." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, Bobby's like 2 corners, he's gone.
He said, he's like, "I saw you that last session, and I was out in the corner with Eugene, and dude, like, he literally just went by him. That's all he saw.
Bobby's trying to figure out which direction the next corner is. Is that going left or right? I can't remember."
Yeah.
He goes top rack on the front tire, braking, and I think I have to stop now.
You know, watching Top Rack interact with you guys and interact with Bobby and look at the bike and the way he talked about his riding. You know, obviously he's that guy, but even his hands, like the way, like he has like his index finger is like that when he talks.
Okay.
And as he was speaking, he's a pretty tall guy too, right?
Yeah.
And all I could think of is like he's a very young Turkish Curtis Adams, right? Like just like that demeanor of dude.
Curtis is taller, and Curtis was heavier. He's,
right.
Yeah, Top Rack's really
dude
thin,
like lanky. Curtis wasn't lanky, but his attitude and the way he talked with his hands and the way he analyzed what's going on the track and what's going on with the bike, it just totally reminded me of Curtis Adams.
Yeah, now he sat down at our data table there for a bit, talked to Marshall and Bobby, and explained things, about what he does, which was pretty damn cool. You get the world champion to come over and just rap out with you,
Yeah. Now here's something that's
one thing different about the World Superbike
Paddock
versus MotoGP.
Right.
We did those wild cards of MotoGP ages ago. And actually scored points with Steve Rapp, which we didn't do this last time, which I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't score any points. But anyway, the World Superbike Paddock's like open.
Yeah.
The guys can float from pit to pit, say hi, and things like that. MotoGP isn't quite like that, even though it was very welcoming when we were there too.
Right. Well, the one thing I saw that was a big difference in the paddock, and this was something that happened at both tracks, both Estoril and Jerez, is on Thursday when they open up the track to do the track walk, the entire team, all the crew, the riders, everybody would be walking the track.
Yeah.
I found, dude, Massimo was out there walking,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, like the whole team, they're walking and the riders are pointing shit out, and, they're like having a walking and talking discussion with the crew. And, sometimes they're like Gerlach was saying that sometimes he can point shit out to his crew chief that's happening, on the track, and they make notes. And
yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think we're so used to knowing all of our racetracks that,
right.
That bump right there in the middle of such and such. Yeah. We've talked about that for the last decade.
So basically you're not going to take that home to the Moto America paddock. You're not going to.
I could, but we're often so busy. Like the thing with them is they start setting up on Tuesday,
right?
And then on Wednesday I think they do their little track walk thing, or was it Thursday? So when Tuesday they come in and they put in the floor or the carpet or whatever, and they might put up some walls or not. Then the crew gets in on Wednesday and they put up the whole garage setup,
right?
And then by Thursday they're done,
right?
And all they're doing is some polishing the bike and doing a few things. Maybe they'll change an engine on Wednesday, and then on Thursday they wait for tech inspection and do the usual interviews or this or that or whatever, and then Friday the action starts. So they're on it on Tuesday afternoon. So they have a lot of time to go walk around. So my point is,
do that, but they also we have a grand total of 10 people on our team, right? They have 25.
Not counting the riders, 10.
Right. Their crew, they have a crew full time of like 25 people.
Yeah. Well,
although I will say this, their cup of tea guy retired. So
yeah, does that count the hospitality team?
I don't know.
I didn't count 25 on the bike side.
They have people in the bikes, and then they have people in the trailer in the office.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think there's 2 trailers, and there's people in both. And then I don't know if that 25 counts hospitality or not.
Well, it probably counts hospitality, and they probably count
the forklift driver. And
they probably count also their media people.
Yeah,
because they have the same type of crew setup as we do. They have 2 guys on the chassis. They have a data guy, a crew chief, and then they have an Olin's guy that's attached to them, which we don't have anymore, so it's almost the same structure. They might have 1 or 2 guys extra.
Right.
So they have some management people too, like, Paul, he doesn't do any work on the bikes. I'm over there.
Or Eugene doesn't work on the bikes. He's just the coach video guy for the.
Yeah, exactly. So you add all those guys up, so they have a spotter basically,
Yeah.
But I don't count, um, people doing media and things like that as part of the crew.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, there's in the way usually,
Yeah. Yeah.
make you do that a lot when you progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
At least you're not scratching your face like a meth head.
yeah. One thing it was interesting. I don't know what So Peter Strack, he helped us out with the logistics of this thing. So it just we've been cooperating quite a bit more since they won the R6, the championship with the R6. We did the engines for them, and we were there for them whenever they needed something. And then we did the same with the R9, helped them out with some of the chassis development and the engine work. And their team did a really good job. Really low maintenance team too, as far as we're concerned. They weren't over in our pit every 2 minutes asking us something. Jordan, those guys do a really good job. So our cooperation's been getting better and better. So he pitched in and helped us with the logistics, the shipping part of it.
Right.
The bikes there and back, the crates, and we did the rest. The crew.
Dude, I felt like part of my role was to help make sure they had a good time too.
I think they did. Yeah.
Both the team sponsors that showed up, the Strax showed up for Estoril, and then CTML showed up for the Jerez round. And when Peter and Jessica got there, I was like, hey, I'm about to do this tour of the Paddock pit. You guys want to come? So I'm on camera and I'm talking to the Stefano dude, and I've got Peter and Jess standing behind me,
Yeah.
And then we ended up touring their trailer and stuff. And their trailer setup's quite a bit different than ours. And I think out of necessity, I think there's quite a bit difference in the regulation out there with how much weight they can pull and all that.
Yeah.
So perhaps their two rigs is about similar to R1, as far as the amount of shit that they bring. But in the rig, I mean, we're looking at spares and different. I mean, literally, if somebody crashes and, say Johnny crashes and he needs to replace the bodywork, the guy goes in, says, hey, I need this part number. And literally the guy in there is like, cool, here you go. And is ordering another one.
Yeah, it keeps it going.
Yeah. It's like the old Walmart supply chain stuff back in the day.
We have a similar thing. It doesn't quite work that way. So basically all the items get used, go into a particular location, and then when we get back to the shop, that area gets replenished with new stuff.
Right.
So it's kind of similar. We keep an inventory at our shop, and so when the inventory at the shop goes down, then that's when we reorder.
Right.
It gets down below a certain level. So we do it a little bit different than they do, but it's similar, I guess. They keep an inventory right there at the racetrack, and we keep it. We're like, you know what? We don't want someone just sitting there punching parts in the whole time. We'll do it right when we get back to the shop.
Yeah.
That way it keeps the flow going. And I was talking about the track walk thing too. Is our series? We start on Thursday, really afternoon, and by the time we put up everything, it's
already dark,
right? 1 or 2 o'clock, and the bikes are out and everything's set up, and we may have to do some bike maintenance or something like that. Or we got to, Marshall and I are going to discuss the electronics plan, or we're talking the suspension plan, or whatever. Usually we'll do our plan the weekend before with Will, myself, and Marshall through a video conference. And then when we get to the racetrack, we usually have our plan, but we got to discuss it with the crew. We have a team meeting on. By the time Thursday is track walk time, we do the Marshall may go over to do the thing with Motor America. The riders briefing / team briefing. They do it every single week.
Yeah.
Event. By the time that's all done, there's really no time to be walking the track.
Yeah.
It's not like
I know that, but it's fun to talk about it because it's quite a bit different. It's like a completely different cultural thing for them. So.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. The cooperation is really good. But I think I kind of wish that the Strax went to Jerez instead of Estoril.
Yeah,
because Estoril was in my opinion, it was more rundown. Than Jerez was much shinier, more painted, more. The garage situation was better, and a little more elbow space. We're climbing over each other, and they're trying to come by the bike to have a look around. And
dude, that's the real reason why I got so much miles in at Estoril, dude. Because I was not gonna hang out in that little
garage. I mean, it's tight, right?
Yeah.
And just the 3 or 4 meters width extra was just huge.
World of difference.
Put a proper workshop in the back and all that stuff. Those guys, they get a bigger allocation. They're regulars, so they'll get.
Yeah.
But yeah, the GMT team, which was next to us, GMT 94, nice bunch of guys, also a French team, and they had 2 bikes in the one garage, and their setup was pretty tight. They had 2 data workstations and a little workshop, and their truck. How nice is their truck, right? The whole trailer,
double decker,
pops up.
Yeah. Yeah, I told Jeff to get on that. Maybe he could secure one of those for us.
Getting a budget. One thing they don't. And how big was the Yamaha presence in that paddock, huh?
Oh, dude! Like I joked about it. I took a picture. I took a picture from above, above the garages at Jerez. I mean, when I say it's the Blue Crew, I mean it is the Blue Crew. I mean it's like, 4 or 5 semis in a row, and then the hospitality. Well, no, 4 or 5 in a row, and then there's like 3 or 4 on this row, like up.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, I mean between the small bikes, the Junior Cup or whatever, and Super Sport and
the women's thing.
Yeah, I mean look at BMW. They have what, 1 team, right? Or they have 2 teams. I think they have. Can't remember now. I think the other team went away, right? The one Gerloff was on. They have 1. Maybe 3 riders.
Yeah, I think there might be 1 or 2 teams, but
yeah. And then you have Ducati's got quite a bit of bikes.
Yeah,
but they're not super.
Cowie too. Cowie and Pomoda is like a, and what's another thing that's interesting. I talked about it last night. Is they have they have the Superbike merch tent, and when you go in there, it's like there's the Yamaha section. You could buy Locatelli and Johnny Ray shit. And then there's the BMW section if you want Vandermark and Top Rack stuff. And then, like you could buy Cowie's stuff with Gerloff's name on it, dude. Like, we need that here. Chuck Excellent, are you listening, bro?
Yeah, another thing they do differently, which they don't do in the United States for whatever reason, it's super freaking annoying. And I've talked to them about it, but they just go, whatever, is put the teams together by brand.
Yeah.
So in World Superbike, all the Yamahas are in one section.
Yeah.
All the Ducatis are in one section. The BMWs are in another section. Yeah. All the Hondas are in another section.
Right.
The Cowie and the Pomoda are like in the one section, and their hospitalities are behind it. So it just seems pretty well organized compared to the way, we'll be at one end of the pit, and the guy who didn't even score a point the previous year is ahead of us. And where Bobby was 3rd in the championship, we're in the 4th or 5th spot in the middle of the grid, middle of Paddock.
Right.
Like, where's that guy? Oh, well, because that team that won the championship last year owns this team. It's a different semi with a different. Okay, well that's fine. You're gonna keep the Ducatis together, but how about putting Strack and all the other guys right next to us, so all the Yamahas are in one section?
Yeah.
But then they got BPR over here, and they got Strack over there, and they got us over here. They might have Strack behind us. So it isn't exactly quite. The show in the paddock isn't the same as it is over there.
Right. Overall, I mean, just you could tell it's a world level organization. I mean, they stuck to the clock. They, the schedule was very, like, they were very communicative. Like, I still have my notes from Jerez over here. They gave me, like, I was using that and sharing it with Fernando because we were bouncing off, and I needed to know when Bob needed to be where, And gotta say, the Paddock team again, their office hooked them. They would just print it out for me, hand it over. Like, no problem, man. Here you go.
Yeah. Their schedules are very tight.
Yeah.
I mean, you can set your clock to them without a doubt.
And here's one thing that I kind of wish that they could. I mean, I think they could apply this easy here. And this is like a fan interaction thing. You didn't get to see that stuff because you were in the office. You were in the office too much, so you didn't get to see this. But
the whole time.
Michael Hill does this Paddock show thing, so he's got this big stage, and there's a pretty busy schedule that gets printed out for the whole weekend. And Mike has a busy schedule of, like, he'll have the Junior Cup kids or whatever, and the women up there, and the whatever with the R7 races, whatever that is, and then Super Sport Kids, and then the Superbike, and then it's like, oh, and then the top 3 from Super Pole go up. Like, he has all these opportunities for the fans to interact with the riders in the paddock, and in our paddock, there's not that at all. Like, how, you know, they do a good job making superstars out of all the riders in the paddock by doing that, I think.
Yeah, I think that Nicole tries, and I think she sometimes gets frustrated with sometimes the riders don't cooperate as good as they should.
Mm-hmm.
They're not on time. You got to chase them like herding cats.
Well, World Superbike, all the riders are aware that paddock show shit is mandatory.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know.
And I mean, dude, it's so mandatory that there's a guy. I'll say it. I don't have any affiliations there, but there's a guy that's kind of known in that paddock for kind of being a little bit of an asshole. Yeah. And that guy knows he's mandatory. It's Iannone, right? Like, he goes in there, he kind of walks around, he looks like, you know, he goes in the paddock show, he signs the doc, and he walks out. You know, he basically lives up to his signature of the obligation of being there. But he'll go and he'll sign a few autographs for the fans right at the end, and then bone out. But even that, those few fans that got Iannone's autograph, they were stoked.
Yeah.
So,
not a fan of his.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody is, including his team.
No, not a fan of his. And he's a good rider. Not going to take anything away from that. I mean, you know, he got banned for a bit, and then he came back, and probably has a bit of a chip on his shoulder for being banned and all that kind of stuff. And whatever, he's kind of a dickhead.
Yeah, like I said, he's kind of known in the paddock for being a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah,
You know, even that guy who doesn't seem to be stoked on having to do autograph shit, he still was there and did it. You know, albeit brief, he did it. You know what I mean? And like, Moto America could really easily just make that shit mandatory, and then the right.
It is mandatory.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
That's fun.
Yeah, it is. It is. And like I said, Nicole chases it. She's always up our ass with, "Hey, where's your riders?" And like one time, I think it was a triple header. It was. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was right after or right before when they had to get their leathers on and get going.
Yeah.
How do you expect them to make this happen? You know, sometimes the timing is off.
Yeah.
You know, but we try. I mean, our guys try, and sometimes they just have to stop and get ready. But yeah, the riders should understand that's their obligation. They're not there to just race motorcycles, and they take that very seriously, right? I mean, how many emails do they send you about that?
Oh, dude.
And one of the most
I'm on the WhatsApp chat, dude. Like, let me see if I can still have it. Like, I was on that WhatsApp chat, and it's like, oh, the paddock show, this is what's happening. Oh, look, this is what's happening in the paddock show. I mean, it like filled up. I was getting messages from that like the whole time, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that I know this is probably boring everyone, but one of the most
like, oh, look, paddock show shit.
Yeah. But one of the most important things during sign up was, who's your press officer? Right? Who's taking care of the rider? Like, one of the most important things they kept asking.
The fluffer we called it.
Yeah. Like, they did not want to hear that the rider's taking care of himself.
No.
They wanted to make sure there was somebody there to drag his ass from place to place to make sure he gets the interviews and he gets everything done. Because that's media content for them, right? They sell that stuff.
Yeah. You're right. And then, you know, like at Estoril, he had to make it to the, what do you call it? The new rider, first time rider meeting. And you had to have a meeting. It was like he was in there with some 300 Supersport kid.
Yeah, exactly. Another wild card.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, and he didn't have to do that at Jerez, but there was a few people that did, you know. I mean, they take that shit serious. And so, like, that getting the helmet to tech in a certain amount of time, you know. And I know Bob came out with Tim, you know, and Tim handled a lot of that stuff at Estoril. But they were a little late at Jerez, so I just did it. I was just like, don't even worry about it. The helmet's over at Arai now. You're fine. You know?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's being said that I'm the Attack Performance fluffer now. That's great.
Yeah.
With that, guys.
Yeah. Gopher, all that.
Gopher, fluffer, fire extinguisher guy, refusing to climb the tall ladder guy.
Yeah, such a girl with
like, dude, that ladder was rickety as shit, dude.
Come
I was
on.
like, you know what, Fernando, you got this, bro.
Fernando climbs up. Will's the other girly man with the ladders, man. I don't know what's wrong with you guys.
You know, I climbed the small ladder at Jerez, but I was not going to get up to that crazy.
The thing's like 12 feet. I mean, you can jump off it and still be fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it was rickety, dude. Like, I wasn't down.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, like that stuff was just the organization of it was far above where we're at here, you know.
And you know what? If we ever get the opportunity, which is probably never going to happen, is MotoGP. The organization there is way better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a different level again.
Oh, Joel RN wants to know if there's anyone in the World Superbike paddock that rubbed you guys the wrong way.
No, just I mean, not Iannone so much, just what he was acting like. Like he was kicking at Bobby and doing stuff on the racetrack. And
he
was trying to learn the racetrack. Here's Bobby out there trying to learn the racetrack, not be in anybody's way. And the guy's being freaking rude, you know?
I think this might be because we're testing soon. But Ed wants to know if you can talk about anything you learned from World Superbike that you plan to try for next year.
Well, I'm not going to talk about it, but we for sure have a few more tricks up our sleeve.
Okay.
I mean, one of the reasons to go there is to get some FaceTime with Italians, and that's super important. Sending them an email doesn't do the same thing. It just doesn't. But going there and hanging out with those guys, even like in a race environment where you got them captured, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt being in our pit for 3 or 4 days was really important. And coming over and at the next race, and then Christian and Stefano and Gabrielle and all those guys, you talk to them and you just have a little better understanding of what we're talking about instead of just shooting emails back and forth.
Dude, that Stefano guy was everywhere.
Yeah. Is he one of the happiest guys on planet? That guy's had an endless smile on his face.
I mean, yeah, like that guy, he was so welcoming and so friendly, and he's like, here, open door. Like, I mean, you know this, right? Like I got a tour
right for Paddock.
What'd you say?
What's his job? Like a team coordinator?
I think so, yeah, because he's everywhere. He's in hospitality, he's in the kitchen. Like he was giving me tours of everything, and he was pretty switched on with all the stuff.
Yeah.
He did.
Andrea came around. Now he's got a different job. He went up a step when his boss went to MotoGP. He went up a step, so he looks after all of racing minus MotoGP. Yeah. And then Canepa took over Andrea's job.
Yeah.
So, and he was super cool too. Just wasn't around because he's so busy.
Dude, that guy's his position that he had previously was taken up by Eugene. So, that's the original number 50, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Eugene Laverty. So, what a cool group of people. And like I said, dude, that Stefano guy, I mean, he walked me Goodfellas style through the kitchen and hospitality. Like, I'm in there with, like, dumb with the camera, right? I'm like, yeah. And there's like a giant hunk of pork on the grill. Like, check that out. Like, so.
Yeah, that hospitality crew, too. I mean, I just keep thinking logistics, right?
Yeah.
So those guys are doing breakfast, whatever, at 7 a.m. and then dinner's at 7:30.
Yep.
p.m. Right?
Yeah.
19:30. So they're there for how many hours?
Yeah, they got a tax
They
schedule.
be there a couple hours before, and they probably got to be there for an hour or so or more after, right?
And a lot of those people are part of the setup deal too. So, those things, and they're putting that stuff together. I mean, they have their Lego map. They could Lego it together. But I mean,
that receptionist girl, the blonde one,
mm-hmm.
she's the one that met you at the door every time and checked off the sheet, check-in sheet.
Yeah,
right. She was over there assembling the damn building, basically.
Oh yeah,
that thing is like a stage. So it's like that hospitality is like a rock and roll stage to build.
Oh yeah, they're all like roadies, like for real.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's
like a traveling circus.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's where Moto America is just not quite to that thing there yet. I mean, it used to be when it was AMA, they used to have hospitality and big trucks, and you know, they used to have miles of people come and watch the Smoking Joe's guys, you know, Miguel Duhamel and all that. I remember all that stuff.
Yeah, and then they outlawed all the cigarettes, and then boom.
Yeah, then they went extra stupid with DMG.
Yep.
And you know, hoping, but you know, fingers crossed. I mean, to touch base a little bit with Motor America, back to the States and into next year, right? So don't quite know our riders yet. I'm
right.
You know, it's contract time. So Bobby, I think, is for sure he was guaranteed a deal. We finished third or better, which he finished third.
Here we go into the rumor mill, right? Like, I mean, we were hearing rumors in Europe, both tracks, right? In our paddock, we were hearing our paddock shit in their paddock.
Yeah. So
that's weird, right?
Yeah. So I don't know if it's official or whatever, but Jake's taking the year off next year, right?
Okay.
You know, so he won't be back with the team. It's disappointing, but we understand because he's dealing with the arm thing and just isn't getting any better. It seems like.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's too bad because the guy's super fast. You know, and he sent me a nice note when we were over there, and you know, said he's rooting for us and all that. And I sent him a nice note back, and that was pretty much that, you know. And so disappointed there. Wish him the best of luck.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big fan of his, you know, for a long time, and longer than before him joining our team. And you know, Jake, watching him, know he's like up here, he has it, and he can't physically do it. I mean, it definitely has to have an effect on his.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'll be honest, I wasn't a big fan of his before he joined the team, but I became a big fan of his.
Yeah. Oh.
Sometimes you see people from afar and you don't really know what they're going through. You don't understand why they are riding the way they are. And then they get your team and you start, and then all of a sudden they switch on, you know, like he did in 21, 22, 23 kind of thing.
Right.
You know, he dominated the series basically. Like he was made it boring, basically, right?
Right.
So it's a lot for, you know, then we had Cameron Bobia before that. And again, I knew Cameron was a fast rider, but you didn't really know how good he was until he got on your equipment and you looked at the data, and then you realized, man, this guy's something special, right?
Yeah.
So same with Jake, you know, and even at the end, you know, at New Jersey, he went out, broke the track record just before Bobby broke the track record.
Right.
And we qualified 1-2. So how much of a shame is it that, you know, that he won't be around to continue, and you know, it's just too bad that he couldn't do that pace the whole race, you know.
Right.
But he kind of knew it. He was having a hard time performing. So hope to see him back. I don't know what his main goal is. He just might be over it, you know, because he's done it since he was a kid.
Oh, for sure.
Now he's 30 something, right? So what is that?
Yeah.
Like 30 years worth of riding?
I mean, look, dude, the guy, you know, I mean, he's won the championships, right? And the reality is, the sport, like we've talked about it many times, the sport is pretty cruel at times, or it can seem cruel. Yeah. It's very performance based, and you know, you could be a hero 1 minute, and the next minute you're a zero overnight, and looking for a ride.
Sunday at New Jersey?
Do what?
You mean like Sunday at New Jersey?
Yeah, like Sunday at New Jersey.
Yeah, you know, you go in there leading the championship, it's gonna be easy win, and then also
and then you
third in the championship.
Womp. Yeah.
Sunday was not too.
You know, thanks to Ed's commentary, I had to delete a lot of stuff out of that Jersey vlog because such sure chatter. I was like, dude, that.
Whatever. You know, that's racing, but yeah, I mean, racing is a performance sport, and you know, I kind of put it like this: if you have a tool in your toolbox and it's constantly stripping your screws, you know, it was a great tool at one time, but now it's worn out, and every time you put on a socket, it strips the socket, or you know, like people have had hex keys where they're kind of a little rounded, and every time you put it on a socket and a screw, you turn it, it strips it. Like eventually, like screw this thing, you throw it in the garbage, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I hate to be cruel, but riders are kind of the same way.
Well, you look at them like tools. And
mechanics, you know, I mean, eventually, you know, like Walker and I, we're all going to go brain dead, and then we're going to be worthless, and then that'll be that.
So I'm being asked what the rumors are, and one of them's in the chat, actually. Cody Krager says Vandermark to attack.
That was brought up by the Paddock guys.
Yeah.
but I don't know. I think he's got some other plans.
But yeah, I mean, I heard he's like test riding for BMW, and then like I also heard he's Orange Catting it.
Yeah, then there was an Orange Cat rumor, and then the Orange Cat guy was in Estoril also.
Yeah,
I don't know why those guys had to go to Estoril. Jerez would have been such a better place to go.
Maybe their meeting was.
He was in Estoril. I can't remember his name. I mean, I talked to him for like an hour one time, but I just can't remember the dude's name. But anyway, I'm terrible with names. Must be the age thing. I can remember like shim stacks and clicker settings, but I can't remember names.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But anyway, so he said no Vandermark on his team, but I don't know. Maybe it's just in a process. And I heard they made SDK an offer, the Orange Cat guys. So that's a possibility. Then I heard, JU's got a first rider refusal for SDK. So that's, who knows what goes on there. And then we know Cameron Bobier to Ducati. And then Benjamin Smith, his Flow for Law, bought the second ride or whatever.
Yeah, I've heard something like that, dude. Like, I talked to Ben, and Ben was tight-lipped as shit. So
I mean, it is what it is. But so apparently he's supposed to be. I don't have any agreements with anyone. I can spill the beans on everybody. I don't care. I'll tell you what I know. Everything but what Yamaha is doing.
And mind you, these are all like, this is what we heard. This is like, this could be all fact. It could be,
the Bobier thing's fact.
The Bobier thing's fact. Okay.
Yeah, that's done. And the Benjamin Smith thing, I think about 90% there. And Heron, I don't know what he's doing other than he grabbed all his shit and left. And apparently he stood up Geraldo Ferracci type little get together thing. They brought his bike in and stuff. And anyway, Dean Adams told me this. He wrote a story about it too. Like, that he didn't show up after, like
he wrote a story about it.
Yeah. No show, no call.
Shit, I got to check that out.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a story or if it's just a little tiny little snap
little
thing.
Blurb.
Yeah. A little blurb with a picture, they had everybody there, Jamie James and Scott Russell and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to come and ride. He didn't show. So I guess he's probably a little bitter. I don't know. And I don't know where he's going to end up. I'm not sure. And
dude, if he doesn't end up with a ride, that goes back to what I was saying before, right? The cruel reality is, dude, if he's without a ride, he won a championship the year before.
Yeah.
He's like, what, second or third in the championship this year, and potentially without a ride. That's the cruel reality of the sport.
Well, he was second in the championship.
Yeah.
We gave it to him. We gave away first place, basically. I mean, that's just the cruel reality of it. But I
can see how emotional you are about it.
I mean,
the look on your face, just the wear of the emotion.
Nobody was dying. Nobody was starving. We're all having fun and going racing,
Right.
Not like, somebody might be able to miss a meal if they get the championship, if they don't win a championship or whatever, but I need to miss a few meals, so I think I'm okay there. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, then who else do you have? Let's talk Ducati. So then we have
I heard Uribe.
Wrench guy's coming back.
Oh, I heard Wrench is doing Ducati too with
Peterson.
CP. Yeah.
Yeah, CP45. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 3 Ducatis. Right.
Oh, wow.
And then there was some talk about Uribe trying to do a Ducati gig.
Yeah.
So that'll be 4 Ducatis possibly, but you know how this stuff is. Sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't.
I heard Teitlers is in. I heard Teitlers is out.
No, Teitlers is out.
Oh, they're out again?
Yeah, as far as I know, they're out. I mean, who's he going to put on the bike? Yeah, who knows?
So they win a championship and they're out.
Jake will feel good and he'll be on the Teitlers bike. I don't know.
The thing is, if Jake's arm comes back, like whoever he ends up with, if he does come back, like if Jake's arm gets better, like everybody's in trouble. Like that guy.
Yeah, I think so. But there's one thing that people forget is the team component.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these riders, like how long did it take Cam Bobier to get a championship? 3 years.
Right.
How many championships did he have before that? 5.
Right.
Every single year he rode for Yamaha, pretty much, except for the one where he had a shoulder injury and Tony Elias won it.
Right.
So it took him 3 years on that BMW to get a championship, smashing himself, doing all this stuff. Is he going to win a championship on the Ducati? I don't know. We'll see. We're going to try not to let him get one. But there's a team component. If you're not on the right machine with the right people, the right Marshall, me, Will, all those kinds of people that direct the program, you could be chasing your tail. The worst thing a rider could do is start engineering the motorcycle.
Yeah, yeah.
I heard some stuff about the one team where they sit down with a rider and they show them all the settings bank for the shock.
Huh.
Who the hell wants to be out there riding going, was that high speed comp or low speed comp? I better go do another lap and think about that. What rider is going to be focused on that? That's just stupid. You just tell the rider, here you go, I made a change, and tell me how it went. You try to do it. You try to do it. Like we don't tell Bobby anything, and last year we didn't tell Jake anything either, because in my opinion, John was telling Jake way too much. And then he became an engineer on the bike more than he became a rider, and I think that slows you down. You just need a guy to go ride the thing as hard as he possibly can and tell me what goes sideways for you, and we'll try to achieve that. Not only that, what
the bike misbehaves, tell us and we'll fix it.
Yeah, well, misbehaves, and what does it do well?
Yeah.
You can't just come back. That's one thing that riders always focus on, the negatives. Like, well, how's on the brakes? Well, brakes are pretty good. Well, how's it here? How's it there? Then you realize you only have this little tiny thing you got to tune out. It isn't the whole racetrack.
It sucks everywhere.
Well,
then if you just change this one setting, like one click, everything's fine.
We learned that about Bobby, right? He tends to make mountains out of molehills, and then we can't overreact on his little molehill he's trying to get over. It could be just a little tiny thing. It could be a little ride height change.
I hear you guys questioning him, making him clarify what he's saying. Like
well, that's why I want to give him 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You could talk about the bump for all day.
It's funny. Like I remember at Estoril, there was this one piece where, he was spinning up coming out of the kink, and I'm out there watching, and I could see it. And I come in, and I can remember there was a piece about that, like he was spinning the tire up or whatever coming out of there, and I'm like, bro, you're like riding over the curb right there, and it lights up as soon as you run over the paint. Like just little things like that.
Yeah. So back to our paddock, we have what, 3, maybe 4 Ducatis?
Right.
Pretty sure.
Honda,
we have 2, one or
2. Oh, I mean, Ashton's probably still going to do the Honda thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I mean,
you have 2 BMWs, the Orange Cat guys, right?
Yep.
So what does that get you? 4, 5, 6 or so, maybe 7. A couple of our Yamahas, right?
Right.
And then, of course, the Strat guys. Matt's going to be riding a Yamaha, right?
Oh, Matt's going to be riding a Yamaha. Okay.
Well, then Strat announced
Well, he did make an announcement that they're going Superbike. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I know that
I'm rocking the shirt. You're rocking the shirt.
Well, I'm rocking the shirt, but you can't see it till you pick it up like that. So Attack Performance Strat Yamaha. But that wasn't like for 26. That was for World Superbike only.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, there's always Peter's an interesting guy, right? He's full of energy. Yeah. I mean, Jessica's full of energy, and I think she runs circles around Peter. She probably runs a marathon around me. But anyway, so they're pretty energetic, pretty hyped up, and motivated.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be an interesting deal with them and Superbike. I know they have a Yamaha deal, so we want to help them as much as we can. Provide them with equipment, motorcycle, all the tech that we have as far as settings. They should be able to hop on a racetrack and just concentrate on riding. That's the program we're offering them, and we're supposed to go test actually in a few weeks.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it should be pretty interesting to get a first look at Matt back on a Superbike. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean that dude. Like I was telling somebody earlier, I was like, because somebody was asking about Matt, and I was like, dude, I don't know, but I tell you what, whatever that guy is on, that guy is an absolute freaking maniac. Like that guy, he's got a level of intensity all the time around the bike now. Like
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing that intensity when he was on the WorldSBK thing. Like,
yeah. Well, no, I saw it. I
yeah,
saw it. I think that the WorldSBK thing was on the infancy of that program, and I just
yeah,
think that it was one of those deals where I mean, in my opinion, Matt needed to change the scenery.
yeah,
You know, and it would have been better for WorldSBK and Matt. Yeah, because once you get 5-6 years into something, it gets pretty stale.
yeah,
You know, especially if you only have one rider. It's the same,
right,
you know, one rider, same crew type thing. It's like how many different ways can you slice that piece of bread up or whatever? You know,
right, yeah,
you run out of ideas. So sometimes you need fresh riders. That's why I'm kind of excited to have Matt ride our bike. Let's say at a test just to get his head around Superbike again. You know, do a couple days on it. Just he'll have
cool.
feedback that Bobby had, and he'll have some different feedback than Jake and Cameron and Bobier had. Like Cam Bobier, Cam Peterson. I mean, who else do we have? Right, we even had
Josh Hayes, Jason Pridmore, Tony Elias, JD Beach,
yeah, Tony Elias, JDB,
Chavi Flores.
yeah, all those guys, no matter where they stacked up, they gave us some bit of information.
Yeah.
You know, and that little bit of information stays here, stays with Marshall, stays in our data. We can always look at it along with our notes and go, yeah, Chavi said that a few, you know. And Chavi's not slow, man. He was doing 40s on the BMW, I think, in the test.
Right.
I saw that. I don't know if that was on a you know, qualifying tire or whatever, but I thought he got some 40s in there. Right. So I think he still has quite a bit of speed. So any information he gave us, which was important, you know, and that developed into the winter testing and going forward from there, you know, especially Tony gave us a lot of info because he was a MotoGP guy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's always interesting to get guys like that instead of guys who are coming up and don't know anything. So it'll be interesting to see what Skolt says.
Yeah,
because he'll push hard, I'm sure, and it'll be interesting to get his information. He might hate the bike. I don't know.
You know, I'm being reminded that we forgot about the Rahal Ducati Superbike with Peter.
Yeah, oh yeah. So that could be 5 Ducatis.
And then also, is there?
Yeah. Thanks for that reminder.
What'd you say?
So thanks for that reminder.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a pretty good sum of Superbikes. It's almost back to AMA land, where you would have 12 or so really good Superbikes,
right?
And then you had some privateer bikes behind that, and then there was the super sport style guys just entering. So you would have probably a good 18 to 20 bikes,
right?
And with them doing the Superbike Cup, I can see those guys slowly morphing their way into real Superbikes with forks and brakes and things like that, and
right?
Coming down.
Do you think? Do you think Freddie's gonna come back to the?
I don't know. I hope so.
I mean, the guy put in a massive amount of work, and you know they obviously didn't have the season that they wanted. They had a lot of gremlins throughout the year. They swapped riders basically towards the end.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't want to shit on anything, but you know, I think just need some good crew management. You know, whether it was the managed side or the crew side, it just, you know, what I remember John telling me once that I was a micromanager. I said, no, I'm just a manager.
Right.
And some people just don't manage anything because they think they're micromanaging. They might have a little too much trust in the crew. And you go, yep, they all know what they're doing. Here's a Superbike. Take care of it. I'm going to punch it on the keyboard. Right. And then bad shit happens, you know?
Well, one of the things that being part of this program that I've noticed every round, the first day, you know, before the shit really hits the fan, you know, we all kind of gather around and you lay down what the plan is. You know, everybody gets to the notes and you're like, hey, this is the priority today. I want this done. And you, Fernando, I need you here. Ed, I need you to bang this out. And you basically direct the choir of it. And then everybody's like, cool, whoa, Bundy, we're off to the races. And
then you go
maybe
get some ice cream and coffee.
And then I go get you ice cream and coffee, and that's great. Yeah, I guess I'm the cup of Joe guy. I guess cup of coffee guy. Yeah, but you know, maybe that kind of direction is what that team needed. You know, I don't know. I don't know how.
It was a brand new team, so it was difficult to say. But they definitely had some issues, which I think were avoidable.
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate because I was really hoping that Freddie would stay in it and have a good time, but it seemed to not materialize.
Yeah.
And then at the end he had the Australian kid, and then the bike was pretty good, but then the kid smashed the bike up. So there was.
Yeah. Dude, I was over there when they brought the bike in and they were fixing it, and I was just like, "Oh man, that's a good one."
Yeah, well, we've had our fair share of those, right?
Oh yeah, like that's why I recognized a good one. When you see one, you recognize it.
Yeah.
But there's Eric Miller wants to know if you have your thoughts on that Superbike Cup Stock 1000 thing. It's
What thoughts does he want me to?
Basically getting rid of the individual Stock 1000 classing, turning it into Superbike Cup at the back of Superbike, and potentially, do you think it's going to make a potential for a lot of lap traffic?
No, because the guys that were in there doing their bucket list super stock ride, I'm going to go race a professional super stock race because I think I can qualify. They're not going to qualify. So they still have a 12% or whatever that number is that they have to get under.
Yeah.
And if you get within 12%, you should be able to hit your marks and understand where the flags are. So I think there is a bit of that. I don't think traffic was terrible for us this past year, and then Superbike Cup still was in it, right?
Yeah.
Some type of Superbike Cup thing, right? And I mean, World Superbike got rid of World Super Stock a long time ago.
Yeah.
A number of years ago, and I remember Mercado was a champion. He was on our team too. And anyway, I think World Superbike has 22 real Superbikes.
Yeah.
I think that's all you need.
Yeah.
To have a really good series, 22 or so. And same with MotoGP, they have 21, 22 bikes. And honestly, it's for the show, right? It's a professional series.
Right. Yeah.
Build a real Superbike, come out, play, try to get your sponsors, try to get everything all lined up. And the thing with Superbike parts are, if they keep the rules consistent, then the parts are usually pretty good for a number of years. I mean,
right.
I keep saying this. We run the same ECUs that Yamaha had from 2015, stuff that we had from 2018. So we've had some ECUs that are 10 years old. They just keep getting new firmware.
Yeah, I mean, the wheels on your bike are...
Well, the wheels we change every time we bend one, but they're aluminum, right? So they last a couple of seasons.
Right.
And the forks, they haven't changed the fork design. They're going to come up with a new design now, but they haven't changed the forks since 2018 or 19. I think they came out with those big tube forks.
Yeah.
So we've been running the same forks, just changing outers and inners whenever you crash them. The legs. You change pieces of it. So
right.
It's not so bad once you do the initial investment and build your spare parts.
Right. Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, how about this? Do you? There's a couple of things. Number one, do you think that M4 is going to race on the new Gixxer, the new 1000?
Good. I don't know why they wouldn't.
Right. And then the other thing is, do you think that
there's also some rumor that Terry Vance was going to do Suzuki, which I thought was
I heard that too. That
was out there. Maybe you told me, and so it's like the circular rumor.
No, I heard that somewhere. I don't know. Maybe
I talked to Terry in New Jersey. He did ask me some questions and made me kind of think, because he was asking me about how expensive a Superbike has been and this and that. And I told him the same thing I'm telling you now. Like, hey, a lot of stuff's getting regurgitated season after season. I go, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
And then, he was, kind of thing. So I don't know. Maybe he's got something up his sleeve. But you would think that the riders would already be, you sort of hear rumors of riders and things like that. Like, you're not going to snap your fingers, build a Superbike team overnight.
Yeah. What do you think about guys like Baz? Do you think he's going to end up on a ride somewhere? Superbike?
I don't know. I mean, I think he's a pretty good Superbike rider.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that Miller guy said he was thanking us for asking that question about the Stock 1000. He said he was just curious after seeing Stock 1000 having 35 plus entries.
Yeah.
But a huge delta in lap times. So
yeah,
it kind of scratches off that bucket list.
I think that for guys to come and just do nationals because they think it's a pretty cool place to come, there's a place for those guys, and it's regionals. I think there should be more ASRA, WIRA, whatever involvement. You know, I mean, I hope anyway that Moto America builds itself to be a premier professional series like AMA.
I mean, Wayne, I talked to Wayne at Laguna at my track day, like Labor Day weekend, and you know, Wayne used that language that this is a professional series and it's supposed to be hard.
Yes,
and you know what, man? Like maybe those bucket list types that are, you know, they don't think that they're going to be able to race nationals anymore. Maybe they come and do a wild card at their local round. You know, I could see that. Like if you're a fast guy, like say if they raced at Miller again, I bet the fast guys at Miller, you know, those guys could probably go pretty well in Superbike in that.
It depends, you know, if they have it, yes. And if they make the cut, they make the cut and they're qualified.
Right.
You know, so maybe it could be 30 guys in there.
Yeah.
They just have to show up and qualify. There's no one's telling them they can't come.
Yeah, they just got to go faster.
They just have to be fast enough. That's all.
Right.
And no one's worried.
Like you said, when you went to World Superbike, you said you didn't want to get anybody's way, right? So like, why would somebody come to Moto America, you know, the professional national series here in the U.S. and know that they're going to get in the way and be okay with it?
Well, there's always a few dickheads that show up, you know.
Oh yeah,
there's always that guy. I deserve this track as much as the next guy because I paid for it.
Yeah, how come there's not a T-ball? Like,
well, that's why you have the 12% or whatever that cutoff is. 12%,
yeah.
Right? You know, you got to make the grid, and I would expect that our guys aren't over there kicking at people and waving at them and stuff. If they are in the way, you just have to get around them. You know,
I mean, you know, we can remember back in the day, right? Miguel Duhamel and all those guys back in the day, flipping the bird and.
Yeah, I mean, I had a rider get in a fist fight with him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Paul Harrell. Yeah, 1990, whatever it was, Mid Ohio. They were doing road rage right on the back straightaway.
Of course,
kicking each other and stuff, and yeah, he brake checked him, and Miguel went straight off in turn one. And Miguel was on qualifying run. He turned around and flipped Paul off, and Paul was the kind of guy that wasn't going to put up with it.
There's a talk in the chat. Ride to Death says he heard Ducati is going to be using their old V2 next season because Ducati hasn't developed a race package for the new one. Is that true?
It looked pretty damn good. What I saw at you know, that was testing at Jerez.
Yeah,
that's baloney because Richie was talking about the parts and the whole parts fiche and how many part numbers there are already for that new bike.
Right.
So I think that's baloney.
Sounds like bullshit there, buddy.
Yeah, that's baloney 100%. I mean, Richie's already organizing the inventory for the Rahal team and trying to figure out when they're going to get the bike. I think what will happen is they'll get the bikes late.
Yeah.
You know, like a few weeks before the first race, you know, which for experienced guys, they're going to figure it out 1 or 2 races into it. It's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'll get the what I wonder about is, does Ducati provide settings for Dunlop? You know, like how much they compensate. That's a big difference. It's a big difference from what they're using World Superbike. And it was even interesting what Toprak was saying when we were all standing there talking. He was talking about Bulliga finding something, like how much faster he was, and how he rode the
bike. Get this.
Yeah, how the bike would fall down. Yeah, he goes, the bike would just. He goes, you give the gas, the bike comes up, and he goes, release the gas, and the bike comes down. He goes, I think they found something. He goes, he rides it like a 600.
Yeah, I remember him saying that.
He was saying that about Jerez, you know, and Bulliga was quite a bit faster. Toprak there, you know, Toprak really had to ride the wheels off that thing.
Yeah, he's like, he gets 37. I can't do 37.
And back to that deal. Remember when Bulliga knocked Toprak down?
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh my God!
The Turkish mafia was out for blood, dude.
I think they were going to have a Turkish rebellion there in the paddock. I thought everybody's going to die.
Oh man, it was something.
You know, and at the end, you know, Toprak's so chill. I don't think he even is like, you know, kind of thing. Yeah. But I don't know how pissed off he was, but I bet not much.
Bulaga walking around with security.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think at the podium, I think one of Bulaga's guys were almost got in a little fist fight, right?
Yeah.
With one of the Turkish mafia. They were all had the Turkish flags, and
they were chanting Toprak.
Yeah.
Oh shit, dude! Like
they're probably chanting death to Bulaga.
Something, dude. You know what? It's nice to go somewhere and have passionate fans. You know, it's like Jerez had a paddock full of them CRE guys or CFE guys. You know, like it was like a whole gaggle of them with top rack flags, and a whole gaggle of them with BMW shirts, and then the Bautista people were running around like Superman with Bautista flags on their backs. Shit was crazy. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, even when we were packing up, that Spanish woman came by with her little son, and he just wanted to get a picture, and you can see this kid's like his eyes huge and just this grin on his face, and he was just so happy to be in our pit box and just getting a picture with Bobby. I mean, it was like made his year.
Yeah, I mean, and truthfully, watching the races with Paul Denning. You know, I watched races with that guy both weekends. That guy's a passionate team principal, man. Yeah. Like he's yelling at the TV and shit. I was like, hell yeah, dude. Like,
yeah, well, the Italians rubbed off on him.
Oh yeah. He's like, come on, Locka. You know, like he's yelling at the TV at his riders. It was the best.
Yeah, they said they were watching our race at New Jersey, and then when Bobby fell down, they're all
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. I go, I'm not 100% Italian, so I don't have that same kind of passion that you guys do.
Wow, man. Well, you know what, man? This has been a good show, Richard. That was a fun trip, dude. I can't thank you enough for taking me along. That was great. You know, like you joked with me the whole time. You're like, dude, you're like a little kid released to his released into a candy store by himself.
Yeah, and thanks for Chili for being responsible for you coming.
Yes,
you know, we all looked at them like, oh, it's your fault.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Chili had the best time, honestly.
I think Erica, his wife, had a better time.
Oh, Erica always wherever she could go to a funeral and have a good time. Like,
oh my god, she ordered everything for us in Spanish and all that. I'm like, okay. Like, you're gonna have this, you're gonna have that, and you're gonna have that. I'm like, okay, and we're gonna get all these desserts. I'm like, all right,
dude. She got all the desserts for us, and we were like, "What's this one? We like this one. Let's do that again."
We liked all of them except one. One was terrible.
Yeah, one was weird. I don't know what that was.
What was in that thing?
I don't know.
Anyways,
but you know, Chili had the best time, and he capped the weekend with getting a picture sitting on the Superbike. So, yeah.
He sat on a bike.
Yeah, Chili sat up on the bike and was like, hey.
I better go check the swing arm for cracks.
Yeah. Oh, man. You check the seat, too. You might as well.
Maybe some cracks in the seat.
Oh, man.
I think my gas tank's leaking now.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Yeah. But, yeah, he had the best time. You know, I think Jerez was the perfect spot for him. And truthfully, I think you're right. I think Peter and Jess missed out of the Jerez weekend.
Yeah, but they were pretty. I mean, she was like, man, I'm taking notes. I really want to see how these teams do it. You know?
Oh, dude, they were talking about shopping for one of those rigs, the cab over thing.
Yeah, Peter's got big ideas. You know?
Yeah.
But at the end, I think he looks at it like, oh, that doesn't make any financial sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on, Peter, you got to get the hospitality going, and you know.
Yeah, then you need another 5 people.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Now peanut butter and jelly for us,
and honey. Yeah. Well, Richard, dude, great show, man. Thanks again. And what's the next step? What do you? When are we riding again?
Oh, I have a whole list of stuff that we're going to test.
Okay.
And some stuff that I brought back with me, not items, but ideas from the Paddock team of direction they may go, and obviously with everybody else stepping up and us on the same bike, we're going to push Motor America for a few concessions because we're still lacking a bit in the horsepower area. But we'll get a few concessions going and see if we can get the playing field a little more level. and work on our chassis quite a bit more, you know? So there's some
Yeah.
pretty good ideas going forward, and we're just gonna keep pushing.
Yeah, and so you're gonna make new tanks and swing arms and, you know,
Yeah,
doing the
all
thing.
that. Swing
All the
arms,
things.
tanks, fuel tanks, and a few things just to make it a little bit better for the riders, and you know, work on some more of the rear brake, front brake action. Some talk to the and the other thing that was good when we were there was the interaction with some of the people you don't get to talk to, like the braking guys were there.
Yeah.
You know, what do you call it? The Acropovic guys were there. So Taco, I think his name is Taco. Yeah, from braking. You know, he's a very, very positive guy. He actually, I know, kind of going off a little bit, but he actually runs the MV team in the Italian Championship, and they used our clamps, and he was just really adamant about how good they were and how much they improved their bike, and they won that championship. And so, yeah, he's a good dude. So, you know, you meet these guys and you get some more ideas, and then we're going to go push that into the series. So that's what we're working on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yeah, man.
I guess I'll see you at the next test.
Yeah, maybe. Is Chili paying?
I don't know.
It's all good, man.
You pay for the test, not me.
I know. I get it. All right, dude.
Anyway. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching this stuff and putting up with our mouths for 2 hours. And, you know, please, if you like what we're saying here, let us know. Let us know if you want to see any more of that stuff or along that lines. And mash all the buttons and subscribe and like and share and comment and all that stuff. And
only button I mashed is the big X on the side of my monitor.
Oh, I bet. All right. Later.